Well, I suppose I'll start this video by saying I don't know. I think I'm just going to figure it out as I go, just for the fun of it, because I need a forgiving technique. I'm going to use a knife and keep it loose, not worry too much about the details, he says bravely. So we will start with a little bit of raw umber and cobalt blue. I think we'll look through a few trees here. And I'll try not to have them represented as a bunch of vertical poles. We'll try to vary that a little bit. Raw umber, cobalt blue, and some white. Titanium. Titanium white. Let's do another one, but this time I'll use a little ultramarine blue. Not a lot of difference there between those two, but there's enough. Enough to indicate subtle changes. So I'm going to jump back and forth between the two blues, but staying with raw umber. And again, I probably won't talk that much during the painting because I don't have much to say. And as my parents always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything. I'm sure we've all been told that at one time or another. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to switch to a little bit of a larger knife for the moment. I'll still talk to myself a little bit. I usually do that. Whispering away. A little bit of self-admonishment, a little bit of encouragement. Okay, I probably shouldn't do more than that because I don't want to carve in between a million different branches, so let's just keep it down to 1,000. Still feeling cheerful today, probably leftovers from last time. So, I'm going to stay with some brighter colors. Let's lay a shot of yellow ochre and alizarin crimson in. Boy, against the wash end, that doesn't stand out very much, does it? Well, in this case, I guess it's not going to be the highest value that I'm putting in right now. That's fine. As you know, I usually like to work my way up to higher values rather than start there. How about some cad orange and alizarin crimson? Oops, a little bit generous there. Cad orange, cad yellow pale, bit of white. Cad red medium. Cad yellow medium. Mixture. Cad red medium. White. Alizarin crimson. White. It's going to be almost as though I'm negating the trunks that I've laid in as I move along with the painting. That's fine. They still serve as a bit of a guide. alizarin crimson, ultramarine blue. Indicating a bit of a forest floor here. The light's not refracting through the leaves as they are up here. It's just reflecting on the ground cover. Go a little lighter on the ultramarine blue now. No, going a little lighter on the alizarin crimson, sorry. As you can see, I'm not worried about covering every little square inch of this stain. I'm leaving plenty showing through. And when the painting is done, there will be still plenty showing through. Not as much as now, but still enough. Squeeze a little more ultramarine blue onto my palette. Add a hint of white to it. And more yet. Actually, I'm going to add a hint of yellow ochre to that ultramarine blue for a few strokes. We're going to have a few shots of green in here. Provide a little bit of variety. Everybody likes some variety. Okay, slowly taking shape. Slowly taking shape. We'll wipe that remnants of that pile off of our mixing area, and we'll go to some burnt sienna, cat yellow pale, and white, which will not be the strongest looking thing given the color of the wash in. That's all right. Let's go with a hint of cobalt blue mixed in with our burnt sienna, and I'm going to throw a little bit of yellow ochre in there too. I would like the feeling of lower values, lower chroma as we get to our edge here. Again, attempting to keep our light in this area not spilling right off the top of the canvas, or sorry, the panel. Reduce some of this red here. Let me just get rid of some of that. Okay, it's a bit of a band, a bit of a band, a bit of a band. Not too worried about it. In this case, so far, I think it's all right. Now this knife, I like it for some things, but if you look down, where are we? If you can see down the length of it, it has a bow to it. Boy, is that easy or is that easier? It doesn't look really pronounced, but it is. It has a bow like this. So really, the center portion of the blade comes in contact with the surface more quickly than everything else does. Nice for applying paint, but your tip doesn't apply it so strongly, and your base sometimes doesn't apply it so strongly. Now I want to tidy things up. Okay, so for broader areas, for quicker application, I like this knife. However, we're going to cut into some smaller spots now. This knife is very flat. See that? That's pretty razor flat. And of course it has a smaller tip on it, so that makes it easier to get into certain areas. Now we have mostly things covered there. I'd like to go in with some light catching these trunks. They're all poplar, aspeny, ash, those sorts of things, birchish. So these trunks are all going to catch some brighter light and softer light, warmer and cooler light, etc. That's a bit warm yet. Let me add a little bit of cobalt blue to that. I don't mind having some fairly blue trunks because we have very warm colors throughout the painting, and I don't mind if these ones, certainly in the foreground, are looking a little bluer, a little colder. because it's such a flat stroke. Okay. Now let's go. Let's go with just some, I rarely use just straight white, and I might not even end up doing that here. No, I'm going to just touch the yellow ochre with the white. By far, mostly white though. Okay. It's a good thing, it's bordering on too much of a good thing. Okay, so those are a few bits of light catching these trees. That's a little intense, that one. Now, maybe what I'll do is wipe the paint off my fingers. Because if I leave paint on my fingers, by the time the painting's done, it will have spread everywhere. It'll be on the ceiling. It'll be on the road out in front of my house. It'll be on the inside of the windshield of my car. It just gets everywhere. So let's try to avoid that. Now let's go to ultramarine blue and a little bit of raw umber. And just the slightest amount of white. Because I'd like to have a little more definition in places. And we've added our white. And now we're going to put a little more dark in spots. Make these trees some of these trees more important. At least make them feel important. You know, I don't want to leave these things out there. They really do their best, so I should acknowledge them. Yeah. Mostly ultramarine blue, very little raw umber. Excuse me. kind of speckly here in the front because my dark colors against the tint are make such a stark contrast. These little dribs and drabs in the front, they really stand out, they really pop, and I don't want that. I don't want that down here. Here it's okay. I really prefer not to have too much distraction in the foreground. And we're gonna do away with that streak because I don't think this tree, I want it too far forward. I think we'll just leave that one as the closer tree, and that's about it. See, I've got more paint on my fingers, and I've already got it on my right hand wrist, working its way to my elbow, slowly, insidiously, like blood poisoning. Okay. A synthetic rash. Yeah, okay, I think we're all right. Sometimes when I'm doing this, you know, I won't pay attention to keeping the fingers too clean, and then suddenly, because you're focusing on other things, you scratch your nose, and before you know it, it's on your forehead. Let's put that little branch out in front. Okay. It's mostly in place. I like it. I like how it's coming along. I'm just going to stand back here for a moment. It's okay. You know, it's more truly in the nature of a study, of an actual study. That's what I'm after. But I'm still going to put a few other strokes in here to try to make it, even though it's a study, make it a little richer. Let's take some straight quinacridone magenta and lay it in a few spots. Trying to be somewhat strategic in the placement. Okay, that was just a few, and I think in this case a few was enough. Now we're going to go back to our Cad Yellow Pale. Add a bit of titanium white to it. That's too white. Oops, that's too much paint. Okay. Just these last strokes of Cad Yellow Pale and White pop. You know, everything else is pretty strong color, but there's some kind of intimacy that lends to the scene, I think, because even though you have all these colors, there's very little direct sunlight shining on the colors in the foreground. This is allowing, you know, the indication of some very intense yellows in behind this forest, just peeking through, showing up as dappled light between the leaves. Now, there's one more thing I think I'd like to do, and because I have so many strong reds and oranges and yellows in here, I think I'd like to take a little bit of cobalt blue mixed with a little bit of phthalo blue, a little bit of white, and lay in carefully something that will help these yellows to pop even more. So let's pretend that hints of sky are showing through. Just hints. I think I'll use a little more white in this. No, I can't. No, I don't want a bunch of little strokes, just little strokes of white, of light blue. I would like a bit of a variety. Some dots, some dashes. You know, that might just be it. Just not too strong. I don't want the blue to be a focal area. I would like somebody to look at the painting and think, wow, that looks pretty rich. And then after looking at it for a bit, seeing just a few little shots of this blue here and there, you know, as well as the little shots of quinacridone magenta. That's what gives it its fullness, that variety. Something that's a little bit askew here, and I would like to remedy that. And that is there's one branch here. If this tree is in front of this one, I think I would like this branch to overlap. Give it the appearance of overlapping a little bit. I think that'll do. I can get more persnickety. I should definitely not get more persnickety. Okay, I don't think there's anything glaring at me that says, whoa, this is way out of whack. I think in general it's not bad. I think it's pretty good actually. Oops. Every stroke you put on there weakens things a little bit, you know? Once you've arrived at that point where you cannot, with economy of stroke, make it stronger, then it's just going to get weaker. I'm going to stand back. Let's square off with the painting. Okay. Pretty busy little thing, but I like it. It's consistently busy. But see, careless. Or at least the appearance of careless. And certainly more careless than many other works. But the idea is all that carelessness needs to have at least the impression of intention. And if nothing else, it's great fun. I'm taking that upstairs to live with me for a while. I see a couple of small things that I could do to it. I think I'll prefer for the paint to set though before I do that, and I might even use a brush to do the coup de grace. Ah, okay, I like it. Talk to you soon.